Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Salazar-Moreno, but for the purposes of this YouTube channel, I'll go by Q Salazar. Just, it's easier for everybody. But I'm a video game journalist, and I'll be sharing some behind the scenes info and some tidbits and advice and stuff for up and coming video game journalists on this channel. So I kind of wanted to do a video to give you an introduction of my experience and my background in the video game industry. So a little bit about me. I was born in Panama. I'm currently living in Los Angeles. When I was a kid, I immigrated with my family to Denver, Colorado. So I grew up in Denver, Colorado, hardcore Colorado kid, Denver Bronco fan, Denver Nuggets fan. And I came out to LA in 2012, kind of to, expand my career and all that. I've been writing about games for quite a while. So let's take it back a bit. My very first game console was the Atari 2600. With that console, my parents got me games like Yar's Revenge, The Empire Strikes Back. Tank was something that I played quite a bit back then. It was really fun. Had a good time with that. My next console, I never had the original Nintendo. Instead, my parents got me the Commodore 64. And if you don't know, the Commodore 64 had hundreds, I think probably even more than 1,000 games on it. It was pretty crazy, but it was fun. Like some of my favorite ones on there was like Yar Kung Fu and Spy Hunter and Gauntlet. I had a lot of fun there. And then after that, my next console was the Super Nintendo. And I loved that console quite a bit, but I didn't have very many games for it. I loved playing Earthworm Jim on there, of course, Super Mario World, Mario Kart, Killer Instinct was one that I had fun with, but the console that really got me hardcore gaming was the first Sony PlayStation. It was like moving from, for me, because I didn't have any 3D games on Super Nintendo, so it was like moving from 2D gaming to 3D gaming. Because if you remember, PlayStation had Metal Gear Solid, it had Resident Evil, it had Tomb Raider, and of course, one of my favorite games of all time was Final Fantasy VII. It kind of blew me away, and that was the console that got me hardcore gaming. And from then I've owned every PlayStation console, but in like 2001 I won an Xbox on the radio, and with that console, with the original Xbox, came Halo, and that game blew me away as well. So there's even further stamp into my hardcore game fandom. And how I became a video game journalist is kind of different, because I started in college as a music journalist. Now, I didn't go to journalism school. I went to school for broadcasting, but I was always a strong writer. I was covering mostly hip-hop and R&B for a website called sohh.com. I was the news editor there. I started the Hip Hop Daily News on sohh.com and writing about all the latest things in hip-hop, tours, albums, doing interviews and all that stuff. And then one day, Rockstar Games hit me up and say, hey, we have this game coming out, has a bunch of hip-hop in it, and we'd like you to write about it. I was like, sure. And they sent me the game. It was Grand Theft Auto 3. And of course, everybody knows how Grand Theft Auto 3 changed the game for everybody. Great soundtrack too. So after I was done with the coverage, we reviewed it and everything. They let me keep the game. So I was like, oh, I get to keep the game because I wrote about it. So from then I started hitting up all these video game developers and publishers, emailing them through their website like, hey, we're covering video games at sohh.com. Can I be added to your list? Can you send me games if you want them reviewed on the site? We'll review them. And that's kind of how I got the ball rolling. And this was in, right around the era of PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and then Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 was about to launch. So right around that era. So that's pretty much where it started for me. But keep in mind, I was writing about these games for the free games. That's kind of how I got started, because I wanted free games. So I decided, writing about it you know, without getting paid, and just getting a free game was worth it to me. My bread and butter was still music journalism, but after a while, the music journalism started to dry up, but the gaming industry continued to grow. You know, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were huge, and all these huge games and innovations in gaming was happening. And from then on, after I left music journalism, I just started freelancing for, you know, all types of non-gaming outlets. I was writing for MTV.com, I was writing for Vibe Magazine, I was writing for Herb Magazine, Fast Company. CTV was a cable channel that turned into Fuse TV. I did some video game coverage for them. And the Denver Post, you know, Boulder Weekly. It's like a bunch of non-gaming outlets. That's probably why you never heard of me, because I haven't written for IGN or GameSpot or any of the big gaming sites like Kotaku or Polygon or anything like that. So after years of freelancing for all these websites and magazines and newspapers, I finally got a full-time gig in 2014 writing for GameCrate.com, which is a video game website owned by Newegg.com. I'm now the managing editor of the website, and I've been there for a long time now. So I've got some experience, and I'm willing to share that. So that's kind of my introduction. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and maybe we'll do a video answering that. But that's kind of pretty much the gist. Just wanted to give a little intro out there, just so people know my background and why I'm talking about stuff like I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So peace out. Check you on the next video.